All right, diving right in with you today, as always. We're tackling Spanish professions, but with a twist.
A twist, you say?
Exactly. We're going beyond just basic words.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Deeper into the culture, maybe.
You got it. We've got this YouTube lesson by Jaime Lara, a Spanish teacher, and it's packed with insights.
Sounds like a good starting point. Using real-world material like that can make a big difference.
Okay, so Jaime kicks things off with some pretty standard professions. You know, actor, waitress, butcher, the kind of stuff you'd expect.
Everyday jobs. Got to start somewhere, right?
But even from the beginning, there's something about his teaching style that caught my eye. Like, when he introduces escritor, which means writer, he shows a woman writing.
Interesting. Not your typical image of a stuffy old novelist, huh?
Exactly. It's like he's subtly breaking down stereotypes right from the start.
I like that. Making language learning inclusive from the get-go.
Now, this is where we bump into one of the big things that makes Spanish different from English. Nouns have genders.
Ah, yes. The infamous gendered nouns.
So you'll hear el camarero for waiter and la camarera for waitress. Simple enough, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
But then you have a word like mecánico for mechanic, and it's used for both men and women.
Oh, that's interesting. An exception to the rule already.
It is, and it reminds us that language isn't always black and white. There are these gray areas, these places where things get a little fuzzy, which is kind of exciting, don't you think?
Absolutely. Keeps things interesting.
Keeps you on your toes, for sure. But speaking of gendered nouns, we also have words like cantante for singer and recepcionista for receptionist.
Ah, those are good ones.
And those can be either masculine or feminine, depending on whether you use el or la in front of them.
The article makes all the difference.
It does. It's all about context. And now, get ready for some real curveballs. We've got médico, which means doctor, and it's grammatically masculine.
Okay, so far so good.
But when you're talking about a female doctor, you say la médico.
Hold on. La médico, not la médica.
You can use la médica too, actually. It's becoming more common.
So both are acceptable.
Yep. It just goes to show how language is always evolving. What's considered correct can change over time.
Fascinating how language adapts.
Isn't it? And we see the same kind of thing with juez, meaning judge. Traditionally, you'd say la juez for a female judge.
Okay, makes sense.
But la jueza is also being used more and more.
Language reflecting societal shifts in real time.
Exactly. So much to unpack just from these few professions. It's amazing how these little words reveal so much about Spanish culture and the way the language works. Ready to keep going. I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Let's do it. I'm ready for more linguistic adventures. So Jaime's got us thinking about all sorts of jobs now. Architect, plumber, engineer, firefighter. I mean, he's really covering the bases here.
It's like he's building a whole world, right? All these different roles that keep a society running. Makes you wonder if any of them are, like, especially Spanish. You know what I mean? Like, do any of these jobs give us a peek into something unique about their culture?
Ah, you're thinking like a true deep diver. Always looking for those hidden gems.
Well, you know me, always digging deeper.
Okay, well, how about this? Pescador and pescadero. Think about those two.
Pescador. Pescadero. They sound kind of similar.
They do. But pescador is the fisherman, the one out on the water, hauling in the catch.
And pescadero.
He's the fishmonger, the guy selling that fresh fish at the market.
So even though they both deal with fish, the Spanish language makes the distinction between the one who catches it and the one who sells it. That's cool.
It is. And it hints at how important fishing has been in Spain, especially along the coast. It's not just a job, it's a whole way of life.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm starting to see how these words are like little windows into their culture.
Exactly. Each one tells a story.
Jaime keeps going too. Baker, veterinarian, athlete, lawyer, even construction worker, he's not holding back.
It's like a crash course in Spanish society.
Yeah.
And with all these professions, you could picture yourself, well, you could imagine talking to all kinds of people, right? In a Spanish-speaking country, I mean.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like he's giving us the tools to actually have conversations, not just about the weather or what we had for breakfast.
Right, real conversations about real life.
I do have to say, though, Jaime's teaching style is really working for me. He's got this great balance of information and, well, fun. It doesn't feel like a boring lecture.
Oh, I totally agree. He knows his stuff, that's for sure. But he also keeps it light, you know. It makes you want to keep learning.
He cracks me up sometimes with those little jokes he throws in. Like, asking if we've been enjoying the sun and tapas in Spain. Like, come on, Jaime, I wish.
He's got that personal touch.
Yeah.
But he makes you think. you know?
Yeah.
He asks for comments and suggestions, throws out challenges. Like, remember that one where he wanted us to write a 3-line composition?
Oh, yeah. Using all the new vocabulary. That was a good one.
It's like, he's not letting us be passive learners. He wants us to use the language, to make it our own.
And that visual he used when he introduced writer, showing a woman writing. Such a small detail, but it really reinforces that idea that anyone can be a writer. It's not just for, a certain type of person.
Those visuals are so powerful, they stick with you.
They do. So we talked about grammar, culture, teaching styles. Where do we go from here? How do we actually take all this knowledge and make it useful?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, it's great to learn all these words, but what good are they if we can't actually use them?
Right. It's one thing to memorize a list, but it's a whole other thing to, order food in a restaurant using the right vocabulary, or to ask someone about their job without sounding like a textbook.
Imagine yourself. Let's say you're in a Spanish market. It's bustling, full of life. People are chatting. Vendors are calling out. And you can actually navigate that. You can talk to the pescadero about his fish. You can ask the panadero about what kind of bread he's got.
Wow, you're really painting a picture here.
And that's what language can do. It can transport you, connect you to a whole new world.
I'm feeling inspired. It's like this deep dive has shown me that learning Spanish professions isn't just about the words themselves. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of the people and the culture.
It's about connection, really. Building bridges across languages and cultures.
Beautifully said. Okay, so big picture time. As we wrap things up, what's the one key takeaway we want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it boils down to this. Language is more than just words. It's a window into a whole different way of seeing the world.
It's like those professions, those words, they're not just labels, they're stories waiting to be told.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your Spanish adventure. There's so much more to explore, to learn, to experience. Don't stop now.
Keep that curiosity burning, right? Embrace the challenges and enjoy the ride. Who knows what amazing discoveries are waiting out there? So we've really journeyed through this whole world of Spanish professions, haven't we? It's been more than just learning the words, though.
It has. We've gotten this, this glimpse into Spanish culture and how their language really reflects that.
Yeah. Like those gendered nouns we talked about. La médico, la juez. It shows you how language is constantly changing, adapting to what's going on in society.
It's fascinating, right? How these little words can tell you so much about a whole culture and how it's evolving.
Hamas' teaching style really brought it all to life, too. The way he used visuals, humor, even little challenges to make sure we were really paying attention.
He's got that knack for making you feel like you're right there with him, like you're part of the conversation, not just listening to a lecture.
No, right? It's like he's saying, hey, come on, let's learn Spanish together.
Exactly. He makes it fun, engaging, and that's when learning really clicks, I think, when you're enjoying the process.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? What do we want them to remember?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that learning about professions in another language, it's not just about adding words to your vocabulary. It's about understanding a different way of life, connecting with a culture on a deeper level.
It's like you're not just learning the word for baker or doctor. You're getting a glimpse into what it means to be a baker or a doctor in that culture.
Yeah.
What their daily life might be like, what challenges they face.
Right. You're seeing the world through their eyes.
And imagine you could be traveling in Spain, walking through a market, and you could actually strike up a conversation with the cocineur or the pintor using the vocabulary you've learned.
It's like unlocking a whole new world of possibilities, of connections.
And that's the beauty of language learning, isn't it? It opens up these doors that you didn't even know existed.
It does. It challenges you, it stretches you, it pushes you to grow in ways you never thought possible.
So to our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, keep those minds open to the wonders of language.
And most importantly, have fun with it. Embrace the journey. You never know what amazing discoveries are waiting for you just around the corner.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep diving deep,